welcome back. I'm Trinity and this is TV with Trinity. Last week, or on Thursday of this past week, XO Kitty Season 2 came out. I did some TikToks about it and some reels, but I wanted to do a full in-depth video about all of my thoughts, so let's get into it. We're going in kind of three sections: characters, couples, cameos, and some honorable mentions at the end. So we have to start with our chaos queen, Miss Kitty Covey. She kind of had two main arcs this season. One, exploring more of her sexuality and who she wants to be with, and two, being her relationship with her newfound family. So we'll start with the newfound family first, just because I found that storyline to be so sweet. She finds out who Simon is through Principal Lee. She has a cousin who lives in Seoul who her mom met while she was at school there. And she finds her cousin that's her age and her great aunt. She tries to go and meet them and kind of ambushes them a little bit because she's like, "You're my family." And they're just like, "Whoa." And the great aunt is a little offended, like tells her to get out. But she talks to her Harmony and Margot, which we get a cameo of, and I'll talk about her later. Um, I really loved this because the obviously To All the Boys is about Peter and LJ and their love, but the underlying story I feel like is the sister relationship in those movies, and seeing it kind of come through in this, and seeing Kitty get to have a relationship with her cousin and her great aunt, and bringing her Harmony to reconnect with her sister, I absolutely loved. I thought it was so sweet. And when the great aunt was crying because she was like, "I felt like I had to take care of her," and then she left and then she never came back, I was just like, I was in tears. It was so sweet. Next, we'll talk about Q. I love Q. He's so funny. His storyline, I feel like, mainly was about his relationship, so we'll touch on it briefly, but get into it later. This was also one of my theories that was correct in my season 2 theories video that I posted in December. I said that he was going to turn Florian in for cheating, which he did. So they got to stay, but Florian got kicked out, and it was a whole investigation with other students. But also, Q was really into track this season. We got to actually see him run. I don't think we got to see that any in season 1. And we saw his nemesis become his boyfriend, which was really interesting. But I also really loved that Q, I feel like, was really developed as a character this season, because it's like last season he was kind of just Kitty's sidekick, and we had like a moment or two where he was like, everybody else had stuff going on and to Kitty. In this season we actually got to see what he had going on other than like his relationship with Florian. Moving on to Yuri, I think I'm gonna go boy girl, character wise. But Yuri, her storyline this season, she was with Juliana, but because of a kiss that happened with Kitty, her and Juliana break up, and we kind of see her trying to figure out ways to get her back, ignoring Kitty for a little bit, but then resolving their issues and getting back to their friendship. We also get to see her relationship with Alex. I wish we could have seen more of it because I really wanted to see that brother-sister bond. But we only got like a few moments here and there. And then at the end of the season, it is revealed that Yuri's family is being sued through a class action lawsuit that involves Day's family, but we'll get to that. And so I feel like they were really trying to point out this season that she's a selfish person, even though she has her moments. Specifically, I think with Kitty and Day, those are the people that she is the most selfless with. I feel like they were really trying to hammer in that she's like not really paying attention to other people's feelings with Juliana, and then specifically also with Alex. He mentioned it to her several times, especially in they were like on like a lunch date or something, and he says, "I know what it's like to go through a breakup." She's like, "Oh, really?" And he's like, "Yes, I've told you this multiple times." And she's like, "Oh," and then jumps right back into talking about Juliana. So I feel like with her being broke, potentially moving into a third season, we're going to see a lot of growth from her and her become more selfless and more aware of the people around her. Next, moving on to Mino, he had two main storylines like Kitty this season: his relationship with his dad and his relationship with Stella slash Esther. Starting off with his relationship with his dad, I really liked this because, like I said earlier, especially with Q, we really got to spend a lot more time with our supporting characters, and I feel like this also rings true for Mino in his relationship with his dad. He feels that his dad doesn't really love him, only wants him when he needs like a PR stunt. But I really appreciated that they were able to like bridge their relationship, but also the fact that his dad trusted him with the secret of his brother and the baby. Because I feel like if his dad didn't actually care about him or didn't trust him, he wouldn't have told him that. And then moving on to his relationship with Stella, and then just Stella as a character. Stella slash Esther, study abroad or heritage exchange student like Kitty. And so we see her come in, she's rooming with Kitty, Yuri, and Juliana, and then just Kitty and Yuri halfway through the season. Um, but she comes in and she has a little bit of a secret. She's telling her parents that no, she's Stella now. Madison notices that she has a rhinoplasty and she's just doing some weird things. We later find out that she's actually Esther, who had been turned down on a reality competition show that Mino's dad was running because she didn't have the look. And so she changes her look, changes her name, comes to school, wants to get revenge, but decides if he can't beat them, join them, and goes to be in the new reality competition show that his dad is putting on at the end of the semester. I wish they would have kept her being like evil and like wanting revenge a secret a little bit longer, because by the time that she and Mino were dating, the audience already knew that that was happening or that she was keeping secrets. So it's like, even though they had good chemistry, I couldn't enjoy them together because I was just like, she's being weird and she has, like, I was just like, I'm trying to figure out what she's hiding, and it's like, I know she's gonna hurt Mino. I also really appreciated, I feel like it really showed how much Mino loved Kitty when when Mino found out that Stella was Esther. She told him that she had planted stuff on Kitty to frame her for all of the things that she had done throughout the semester, and he stayed with her to protect Kitty. And I was just like, that's how you know he loves her, because he could have just been like, nope, you're a liar, you're crazy, and like exposed her, and let Kitty kind of go in the fallout. But obviously, he still loves her. We all know this, so I really liked that. But yeah, although like I said, I enjoyed the storyline and it gave Mino a really good moment to remember his feelings for Kitty and for the audience to know that he's not fully over her, even though that was obvious. It like gave them a really good moment. And then moving on to Day, he didn't have as big of a storyline this season, but I really enjoyed him. I thought he was really funny and sweet, and the singing I thought was like a fun kind of curveball to what we knew of him last season. I also really liked his relationship with Eunice. I thought they were so sweet together, and the fact that she was like, "You really don't know me at all." I just thought it was so cute. Also, talking about Day and his storyline, his dad was having some trouble because he was working too much, so he ended up getting in a car accident after falling asleep at the wheel, and that's why he entered the singing competition, which I really appreciate. He wants to take care of his family. I love that for him. But I'm very interested to see what will possibly happen with this class action lawsuit that his dad is a part of, because he said they won't have to worry about money anymore. But he and Yuri are friends, so I wonder if that will cause some tension in their friendship. And last but not least, sort of for characters, is Juliana. She started out the season in a relationship with Yuri. Yuri kissed Kitty, so Juliana and Yuri broke up, and felt so bad for her, because even though I knew the relationship with Kitty was going to be a problem, another theory that I called in my theories video, the fact that she came to Yuri after Yuri had already kissed Kitty and was like, I was just worried that you were going to replace me with her. You guys are so close. And it's like all valid concerns, but the kiss had already happened, so there was no coming back from it. I just felt so bad for her. I did like seeing her friendship with Q grow, and I also did not expect her and Pravina, which is why I said last but not least, sort of. Pravina was a new character, was Kitty's love interest for about half the season. They weren't super serious, but that was who Kitty was pursuing when Kitty and Yuri kissed. So it broke up both of those relationships, even though Kitty and Pravina weren't official. But they got together at the end of the season, or were thinking about getting together at the end of the season, which I thought was really interesting. But I feel like they didn't set it up enough. And this is one of my small complaints about the season. Season 1 had 10 episodes, and season 8 had 8, or, whoa. Season 1 had 10 episodes, and season 2 had 8 episodes, and I feel like that was something that could have been explored if they had those extra 2 episodes. I wish they would have, because it felt like it came out of nowhere. Like, I don't even think we actually saw them talking at the dance, and that was supposed to be the catalyst for them kind of falling for each other. So that was interesting to me. I'd be interested to see if they get a season 3, if that relationship continues. Those are all of our main characters, and then just a few honorable mentions character wise. Alex, I love Alex so much, and I was super glad that he had become closer with his dad and had more of a brother sister relationship with Yuri. I do wish we could have seen him more throughout the season. Same with Professor Lee, wish we could have seen him a little bit more throughout the season. And then lastly, Madison for our honorable mentions characters. She didn't have too much of a storyline this season, like she wasn't really connected to anybody like she was last season, but I think she's such good comedic relief, and if they get a third season, I hope she's able to come back again. And then moving on to couples, our only couple starting at the beginning of the season, episode 1, was Juliana and Yuri. Like I said earlier, I did feel bad for Juliana in the breakup, but because I called them living together and Kitty being kind of the reason for their breakup, whether it was intentional or not, I knew them that was going to be a recipe for disaster. And it was like Yuri's responsibility to not kiss Kitty or to stop Kitty from kissing her. They kind of kiss each other, but it's like she was the one who was in an official relationship, so it was on Yuri, and hopefully, even though she's not getting back together with Juliana, hopefully it will spur some growth for her. And then we have Kitty and Pravina. I thought they were really cute, but obviously Kitty was still hung up on Yuri. I did really like that Pravina called her Kitty Cat. I thought that was sweet, and that Pravina was willing to help her in finding Simon, getting the time capsule. So I really liked that. And then Kitty and Nino, obviously we saw the love confession and it did not go well. So they were friends majority of the season until the end moment. He flies Margot and Hominy out, but then at the very last minute, Kitty asked to go with him on tour with his dad and his brother for the summer. So I'm guessing it's implied that they are going to get together if we get a season 3. Hopefully they start out the season as a couple if we're coming back to school after summer. Um, but I love their relationship in general. Even on the friend level, they really care about each other and just have such good banter. I love them. We also got Q and Jin. I didn't talk about Jin and characters because his storyline was really tied to Q, so they are track rivals turned lovers. I like them and don't at the same time because they have really good chemistry, so I think they're really cute together. But Jin with turning off Q's alarms, or Q put glue in his shoe, but shrinking his clothes and all of those other things. I wish they could have just, because it's like there's a difference between teasing and bullying, and it felt a little bit closer to bullying. Um, I do appreciate though that he was not mad at Q for getting the USC summer training program thing, and that he's like, yeah, I think I'm done with track, but I am still really proud of you, because it felt like at the beginning of their relationship, it definitely would have been something that he would have been mad at, that he didn't get it. But I was glad to see that little bit of growth, and the fact that he apologized to Mino and Day in order to meet with Q, I thought was really sweet. Oh, Day and Eunice, I kind of already talked about them. I think they're just both two really sweet characters, and them together was just adorable. Like, they were so adorable together, and the fact that he saved her from Stella's poisoning before her performance, I just loved. He truly cares about her, and I think it's so cute. Those are my thoughts on couples of the season. Now we are moving on to the probably most exciting part, cameos. So we knew that Peter was going to be in the season because he was in the trailer, but a surprise cameo, I technically knew it was happening, but we'll get into that, was Margot. So first we have to talk about Peter's cameo. I loved it so much. The entire episode, whenever he was on screen, I was smiling. I love Peter Kaminsky down. He is my favorite. Yeah, I love him so much. But the fact that they played I Like Me Better With You when he arrived, perfect, chef's kiss. And then just the way that he was really there for Kitty throughout that episode. They have the best brother sister, and I know they're not actually brother sister, but like that's her brother-in-law vibes. I love it so much because he was like, I had to come see you, and then you have to help me get a gift for Laura Jean. Kitty thinking it was going to be a ring. I wish it would have been, but I agree, they're only 22, they have time. And then also that he was calling out the fact that Mino, one, confessed his love for her, called her by her last name, remembers all the things that she says, and he was just like, yeah, that's your guy. I love it because he was like, I know what's up. You two are going to get together. I love that so much. And just the fact that he was reminding Kitty that she is Kitty San Covey, and her not minding her business landed him the love of his life. That line almost made me cry because I love, love, love the To All the Boys movies. Clearly, I wouldn't be talking about EXO Kitty or Peter Kavinsky the way that I am if I didn't. But the fact that he mentioned that was just the cherry on top of his visit for me. And then our surprise cameo with Margot. I say it wasn't fully a surprise because I saw her on Sasha Peterson's podcast, Allison from Pretty Little Liars. And she said she couldn't talk about it yet, but there was a really fun cameo that she was excited about that was coming out in January. And obviously, she was talking about EXO Kitty. So she was in two episodes, one in a FaceTime scene, and then the last episode when they reunited their harmony with their great aunt. And I just love that so much. I wish it could have been all three of the Covey sisters, but like I kind of mentioned before, when the great aunt was telling Kitty the story about she was the oldest and she felt like she had to take care of her younger sisters, or her family in general, specifically her younger sister Kitty's harmony. And she felt like she kind of like disappointed everybody when Kitty's Harmony ran off to America to be with her husband. It just reminded me so much of Margot, especially in the first movie. Like their mom died obviously when they were all really young, so she was really taking care of Lara Jean and Kitty, and so it's like their stories just connect so well. Um, so like it makes sense that it was Margot bringing her to meet the great aunt again. But I do wish we could have gotten all three Cubby girls together again. And last but not least, our honorable mentions. I loved all the parallels this season that they did to the first All the Boys movies. I feel like this is also confirming that Mino is Kitty's endgame. Kitty fainting on the track, Mino being the one standing over her, the hot tub scene, the this is not really a parallel, but the callback to Lara Jean having her face painted in the second movie for Peter and Kitty having her face painted to do backup dance for Day. And the last one I remember now is when Kitty hugged Peter. It was very reminiscent of the second movie when they come home from Korea and he's there to greet them and she like runs up to him. Again, I love them so much. They're so adorable. Best brother sister. The fact that Kitty wrote a goodbye letter to Yuri, although from what we read of it, it sounded more like a love letter in general to Yuri. But I like that they're keeping that in the story or bringing it back to the story because obviously that's how To All the Boys started. And then some moments throughout the season that I just thought were really funny when Mino and Day were kind of attacking Jin at the ski trip, even though it was like things they should have gotten over forever ago. The fact that they were like trying to like bring up things to make him look bad again that nobody really cares about anymore, I thought it was really funny. And they were just such a funny duo this season. That's another honorable mention. When they weren't fighting, Jin and Mino were such a funny duo. And then Jin taking off his boot to dance back up for Day, and Q was just like, what is going on? I really loved. Wrapping everything up, Kitty and Mino need to be endgame. Hopefully they get that in a season 3. I hope they get a season 3. Potential growth coming from Yuri. Maybe Pravina and Juliana as a couple. We'll have to see. And Day becoming rich maybe in season 3 if they get a season 3. Overall, I really enjoyed this season. I think they do such a good job with it. And as an American who hasn't watched any other K-dramas other than this, if it can be categorized as that, I really like the way they add in those elements. Like I did say before, I wish they could have gotten those 2 extra episodes. I feel like they really could have utilized them well. But overall, I really did enjoy the season, and I will probably be rewatching it for the foreseeable future. Let me know your thoughts on all of season 3 in the comments below. You can follow me on all of my other socials in the description, and I'll see you next time. Bye!